All right. Our next guest, I hate when people say this, but our next guest needs no introduction. But you guys, he really has earned one. So, I want to tell you, Kirk Cameron has been a part of the national landscape since starring as Mike Seaver in the 1980s hit sitcom Growing Pains. Yeah, this is going to take a minute, but it's good. He's appeared in dozens of TV and movie productions, including the Left Behind series, Monumental, Connect, and Fireproof, the marriage-centered film that became the #1 grossing inspirational movie of 2008. He's been featured on The Today Show, Fox News, The Ben Shapiro Show, and CNN, and currently tours the country speaking live in 30-plus cities a year as part of the Living Room Reset. That's a marriage and parenting conference. In 2016, he hosted Revive Us, a national family meeting urging the family of faith to return to the principles that will bring blessing and protection to America. And he recently hosted the 4-hour TV special, Think, Pray, Vote. Kirk is currently producing an inspiring new film about adoption and the value of preborn life. He and his wife Chelsea met on the set of Growing Pains and have been married for 29 years. I'm almost done. Together they have 6 children and host an all-expenses-paid summer camp for terminally ill children and their families called Camp Firefly. Please welcome Kirk Cameron.
Up in the bushes listening to all of you, just trying to be a part of the crowd. I've never been to one of these before, and I'm really excited. So I live about 2 hours away and just got out here, and Dr. Dan and I were just talking a little before we came, and when I pulled up, I thought, oh wow, I wish my whole family was here. And I'm so excited that some of you have brought your kids, and some of you have brought your grandkids. This is so exciting to me. You guys, we are 48 hours or so away from
Trump winning!
Or a mind-blowing transformation of the structure of our country. And I don't think that's going to happen either. And I'm so encouraged by the things that I'm seeing, you guys. I was sharing with Dan just a little bit ago that I'm getting texts and messages from people and saw a 96-mile caravan of cars campaigning for liberty and freedom and American principles. And not only that, there were 30,000 vehicles in Miami, Florida, gathering together at another rally. 30,000 vehicles and 58,000 people in Pennsylvania at another giant rally. The pictures were just mind-blowing. And so many of the people in Miami, they were people from Latin American countries talking about how they've come from areas of socialism and they're wanting to get away from that, and they don't want to vote in people who are going to bring socialism to this country. I've been asked by the news recently because when we did Non-Essential, how many of you saw Non-Essential, the event itself, a couple days ago? Okay, well, we've been talking to the press, and one of the questions that they're asking is, what are you seeing as you travel around the country visiting churches? And I've been doing that for quite a long time, and I've never seen anything like I'm seeing now. And what I'm seeing is that the church is waking up to the fact that something very sinister has come upon us, and this Halloween season we have socialism and communism knocking on our door, disguised in the costumes of public safety and social justice. And that's why we did non-essential because there are government authorities that are in this sort of gangster class that are deeming things like assembling to worship God as non-essential. We've been hearing about that all night tonight, and we've been hearing about it for months and months. So I'm very excited. I feel the rumblings of revival of the church, and we so desperately need that. Our Christian faith is essential. Our ability to meet is essential. And I brought an object here to share with you. Some of you have seen this. Some of you think it's the Statue of Liberty. It's not. This is actually a replica that I made of the largest granite monument in America. It's called the National Monument to the Forefathers. And this monument is actually 88 feet tall, and it's 180 tons of granite. Can we, and if you were to stand in front of this monument, you would come up to right here. This is how tall you'd be if you were standing in front of it. Okay, it's absolutely enormous. And this is the recipe, the instructions that our forefathers, the pilgrims, and our foremothers left us because they knew that someday we could lose our way, that the church would lose its way, that government would lose its way, that the family would lose its way. And if that ever happened, they left us the instructions to get back home to what they believed and what they built. And they left it for us in the form of this monument, which is sitting on a hill in Plymouth, Massachusetts, right near Plymouth Rock today. And it's hidden behind a forest of trees in a residential neighborhood, so most people have never heard of it. And I want to explain to you the meaning of this monument. It's absolutely stunning. So our forefathers believed that to have a good, free, and just society, you must start with faith. And notice that of the 5 figures here, faith is the largest. She's at the top. She's at the center. She's the core of this strategy of freedom. Faith is written here on the rock that she's standing on, which is Plymouth Rock. Notice that faith is pointing to the one true God of heaven. She has a star on her forehead, which represents wisdom. She's holding a book in her hand, which is the Bible. And it's not just any Bible. This is the Geneva Bible. This is a Bible, 1577, and this was just after the King James Version of the Bible. Just before the King James Version of the Bible, and it was the Bible that the Pilgrims brought over on the Mayflower. It happened to be the first Bible printed in English that contained chapters and verses. So the first time John 3:16 was actually found by looking up the 3rd chapter and the 16th verse was in this Bible called the Geneva Bible with study notes. And they believed that faith must be in the one true God of heaven and in His Word. And that you must reason from that Word to all areas of life. And the first area that faith would manifest is morality or character or virtue. That is the character of your heart. And they portrayed morality with a woman seated in a chair. Her eyes are closed. If you could come closer, you could see it, because morality is an internal quality. She's holding the 10 Commandments in her left hand and the scroll of Revelation in her right hand, representing both the Old Testament and the New Testament. Can you believe this? But they believed that morality was not just an internal quality. They didn't believe that it was an external standard that was imposed by your government, like the government or your school, somebody telling you this is right, this is wrong. They believed it started with an internal transformation of the heart that was produced by the gospel being preached. And if you look on her left right here, there is a preacher with a Bible in his hand, and his name is Evangelist. They believe that the heart must be transformed by the power of the Holy Spirit through the preaching of the gospel. Once you became born again, you were a new creature with a new heart, with new desires, and you love what God loves, hate what He hates, and you want to know what His standard of morality is. And here it is in both the Old and the New Testament. This is what our forefathers taught us. Now, once you have good morality and you know right from wrong, and you're not calling evil good and good evil, now you can make laws based on that morality so that you can have a government that punishes what is truly evil and protects what is truly good. Notice the man of law is holding a book of law in his hand, and that book is directly beneath the book of law in faith's hand, indicating that man's laws must always line up under God's laws or they're not good laws. And those laws are balanced on his right by justice and on his left by mercy. Justice and mercy under God's eternal laws of right. Once you have good governance, good laws in your society, now you can educate your children. Because we'll lose it if we don't pass it to the next generation. Education is here. This is a woman, most likely a mother, who is teaching her children. She has the books of knowledge in her hand, has a wreath of victory around her head, and to her right, you'll see the youth being taught by his or her mother. And on her left, it's wisdom, an old man with a long beard holding a globe and a Bible, indicating that he has a biblical worldview. He's been educated and he sees the world through the lens of the Bible. And they believed if you train up a child or the youth in the way they should go, when they are old, they'll be wise and not depart from it. If you educate your children and your grandchildren in these principles, you end up with the result. The fruit of faith and morality and good government and education. And that fruit is liberty, freedom. Liberty is written right here. And here is the liberty man. And he's been liberated both internally from the power of sin because the gospel was preached. He was transformed on the inside. And he's been set free and liberated from external tyranny and bad governments. And the kind of things that we're beginning to experience right here in our state and in our country, where the government is just locking down with control. That's what the Pilgrims fled from in England. And if you look, he's got the full armor of God that is described in Ephesians chapter 6 in the Bible. He's holding the sword of the Spirit. He has the helmet of salvation. Thank you very much. He's got the belt of truth. He's wearing the breastplate of righteousness. He has the sandals of peace to preach the gospel. He's got chains on his wrists and his ankles, but they're broken because tyranny has been overthrown. In fact, there's a claw on his shoulder which is connected to a whole hide of a slain lion, and the head of the lion is behind him. The lion represented England, the tyranny that had been slain. And if you look on his right, it says tyranny. And there he is with his sword at the throat of the lion and his foot on the chest of the beast. On the left of him is his wife. Her name is Peace. And she's holding a basket full of gifts for her family and for her community. How many of you think that we need to ditch the political correctness and socialism and all of these crazy governmental restrictions and control measures and get back to this kind of self-government in the United States? And you know, this is what we were made to do. This is what we were born to do. Govern ourselves responsibly under God and His Word. And if we do that, we don't need a big government to come in and to shut down evil, because evil has been kept in check at the family level, at the church level, at the community level. But that takes great responsibility on our part. This is stuff that I'm learning, you guys. I just got interested in this because I've got 6 kids, and we finally realized that this stuff matters. We've had freedom for so long that it's been easy to just coast and enjoy and savor all this freedom. And to my shame, I didn't really understand it until more recently. And now I'm beginning to really, really catch it. And I've understood that this isn't just a national strategy of what, the government needs to do and what the schools need to do. This really comes down to you and me. It really comes down to you sitting right here and me and our kids. It really is us. That's how our founders set it up. They didn't set it up for those people out there to take care of it. It really is us. And so I want you to look for a moment at this as your own personal strategy. Like, what do I need to do? That's what I want to know. What can I do? Living in my house with my kids, in my little sphere of influence, what can I do? Because I know I'm essential. Well, here's what I need to do and what you need to do. Look at this and say, wait a minute. Is my faith rock solid? Do I have a faith in Jesus Christ? Do I put my hope in the God of heaven who created the universe? Do I trust him with all of my heart to forgive me of my sin and to make me the man or woman God's creating me to be? And am I going to do what he says in his word? Am I going to read it? Am I going to know what he says? And am I going to think about it so that I can act differently? And am I living in a moral way? Do I have character? Or am I just going, hey, what the heck? I'm just going to do what I want as long as I don't get caught? Or am I going to say, no, I want to have real character in my heart. I want God to look at me and say, yes, you are loving the things I love. You hate the things that I hate. And then say, I've got to have good morality, but I got to go further than that, and I've got to be involved in the government of my community, the government of my country, and I've got to start supporting candidates who understand this stuff, like Jessica. I've got to start voting. And maybe even I need to step up into a position of leadership, or at least run and make myself available to serve my community or my state or my country. Get involved in this as a personal strategy for you. And then educate yourself on all these things and make sure that you are leading your children's education. We heard tonight that our children are being taught weird, disgusting, perverted things at a very young age. This is all calculated and designed to unravel this whole monument. You are the one who loves and knows your kids the best. Make sure that your children are learning the right things. Gosh, I could talk to you all night about education and your kids. But man, there is a whole movement that is growing called the homeschool movement. We never thought we would do that, but there is so much help out there. There are so many networks, so many people who can help you to get a grasp on a good educational system for your kids. Some of our kids went to private schools, some of our kids were homeschooled, some of them went back to school after they were homeschooled, some of them graduated through homeschool. But the idea is we're in charge of our kids' education. We know what's best for them. We know the opportunities and the doors that they can go through and the challenges they can handle. But the government shouldn't be deciding that for your children. You decide what's best for them and teach them in a biblical worldview. And then as your personal strategy, stand for liberty. Stand for your personal freedoms. You've got them in the Constitution. Read them. Read the Bill of Rights. Make sure that you are exercising your freedom. And I know that you believe this because you're here right now. And you're not social distancing and you don't have masks on because we're taking care of our families the way that we know is best. And there are some people here right now who are voluntarily here. I've seen you who, and by the way, God bless those of you who I see wearing masks. Absolutely. If you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. Nobody here has anything against masks. But it's the idea that people can use things like masks and other things to begin to control people is where the danger is. And there are people here who are in high-risk categories who want to be here right now. And I say, God bless you for coming here because I know that you're being fed the kind of inspiration and the spiritual nourishment that you're looking for. And you love your country, and that's why you're here. Living life is a risk. Living and doing anything, there's risk involved in anything and everything that we do. We have viruses and all kinds of things all around us, but a very deadly virus of government control will just dwarf everything else if we don't stand up and fight for our liberties. And when we do that, we will have peace. We'll have peace in our hearts, we'll have peace in our homes, and we can expect to have the peace and the blessing that comes from God when His people turn from their wicked ways and humble themselves and pray and seek His face. Chelsea, my wife, she said something to me the other day. She said, Kirk, notice what that verse says. You keep getting so upset with all of the people on the other side of the issues, and you keep go crazy about this and going, oh, you keep praying these imprecatory prayers to just stop the advancement of all of this darkness. And she said, Kirk, God never had a problem with the enemies of His people, with rogue nations or false ideologies or fake gods. God could take care of all of that. But when God's people got in trouble was when God's own people turned their heart away from the Lord, right? It was when the hypocrisy crept into his own people. And that's why he says, if my people will humble themselves, not them, if my people will, then he will take care of our enemies, he will heal our land. And it starts with forgiving our sin. And I think that is a doable strategy. There doesn't have to be more of us than them. Because we've got a big, big God. They underestimate our boss.
Yes.
Right? And so let's just get our part right. Let's get our part right and watch God move on our behalf. I feel like we've been having church here tonight at the City Hall. And one of the things that I love to do at church, I love the doxology. Do you sing the doxology ever at your church? This just transcends generations and denominations. Will you sing that with me? Praise God from whom all
blessings flow. Praise Him